Son las 5 de la tarde, último debate de esta tercera jornada de este jueves es Eurasia, las aduanas de frontera y las zonas económicas. Sin duda, esta zona tiene un enorme potencial humano, comunica el este con el oeste, es lo que podríamos denominar como una nueva ruta de la seda y tiene varios elementos en común, desde el religioso al idiomático. Tiene un potencial enorme en el mundo de las zonas económicas por medio de la implementación de las mismas en zonas de fronteras. Vamos a hablar de este tema con diversos expertos. Una de ellas la estáis viendo aquí a mi lado, es Ekaterina Evdokimova. Ekaterina, good afternoon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Y online tenemos a Dragan Kostic y en breves instantes tendremos también a David Sahakian. La moderadora de este panel va a ser Nika Manukova. Perdón, Nika, good afternoon. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon.
And thank you for being here, Dragan, also. So
Hi.
I'm gonna tell our audience, Nika, a little bit about your biography so that everyone knows about you. Nika es fundadora y CEO de Signum Consulting Company, es también consultora de negocios, coach, mentora, con más de 20 años de experiencia. Desde 2010 se ha especializado en las zonas francas, zonas industriales, tecnológicas y clústeres y en los procesos de desarrollo. También es directora regional de la World Free Zones Organization, responsable para Europa y la comunidad de estados independientes. Nika, te dejo a tus ponentes a la espera de que se conecte también David. Nika, whenever you're ready.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am so excited to be here and moderate such wonderful panel. Thank you very much, Dia, for the presentation. So we go. Tonight, during the next couple of minutes, we are going to talk about the cross-border free zones, about impact of the COVID-19 pandemic to the free zones. What are the differences between Eurasian different free zones? Especially, we will share the knowledge of Balkanian, Serbian free zones, Russian free zones, Armenian, Caucasian free zones. And from the very beginning, I would like to ask our special guest, Dr. Dragan Kostic, which is presenting Chamber of Economy of Piratu District. I want to make short presentation of the speaker. He has many years of experience in working in the free zone. He is one of the founding director of the World Free Zone Organization. Until now, he is board of director in World Free Zone Organization, and he has his PhD focused on free zones. When first we met, he was the general manager and partner of the Pirot Economic Zone, and that was the one of the cases that he was located between several European countries. Dr. Dragan, thank you very much that you are now with us. And may I ask a short question? How the pandemic impacts to the world economy? What you think, how we can be survive?
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for possibilities to be here in this panel. All the world is impact of COVID-19 is in all the world, but is in the free zones, of type of free zones. The first of this impact is, I think, the ports, the China ports and the global supply chain. Global GDP is 2020 is minus 3.5%, and we know that it forecast for this year is almost 6%. It look like this 2020 look like a global financial crisis to 2009. It is big impact of this, and tourism is one of big evolving of this, because almost 75% fell down tourism activities all the world. Turkey is first, after that many countries for this. Global trade is also minus 30% in 2020, and many of foreign direct investment is slowed down these years, is almost 42% from all the world. and developed economy is almost 70% of lie down of foreign direct investment. Now 2021 is better, but not like 2000. It is forecast, not like 2019. And transition economy like Russia in 2020 is almost 70% foreign direct investment is down. Global supply chain crisis is very important for this because road transport is in 2020 25% less. Container freight rates reach historical highs. Now, we have two things: shortage of container in combined transport and pandemic measure in ports. And all the things delay intermodal connection, and the same situation is expected in 2020. Lockdown on port services like China ports in, I think, 7 months this year, delay, Merck say delay almost 20 days his shipments. Hapag-Lloyd, MSC, COSCO also increased freight rates. Now we have one freight rates almost 11 to 13,000 US dollars for the high cube containers. It is very, very high because it is 600 increase his freight rates from the previous time. Global supply chain is in big mess now. All this, of course, is reflect to free zones, special port free zones. In Serbia and the Pirot, we have some research. It is the same situation like in all the world. Not we have one research in the free zone Pirot. Almost 80% of the activities in the 3 months of 2020. In April to May, we have reduced activities of our tenants almost 80%. We must organize some measure. Many economists told to us what the measure will be, but I think for me, from global supply chain, it is organized regional production in special economic zone, free zones, export processing zone, and all types of free zones.
Dragan, thank you very much for the statistical data. And now I would like to move directly to Ekaterina Yevdokimova. Now she is in Barcelona and will connect with us directly. Let me make a short presentation. She is a managing partner and director of the Special Economic Zone Stupina Quadrat. And if we go to her career, we will see that she has a huge years of working as a lawyer in several jurisdictions in Beckley, USA, as a lawyer in Russia, as attorney at law in Denmark, and now she has decided to move to the free zones and to be co-founder of the first Russian private-owned free zone. Ekaterina, what are you sharing with Dragan? What he's thinking, how the free zones will continue developing the next decade in 21st century?
Yes, I definitely do. Thank you, Nika, for asking. And I would like to stress that there are more than 5,000 special economic zones in the world, and only 500 of them are successful, which means around 10%. So let's speak about trends for the second decade of the 21st century. What is important for the further prosperous development of the special economic zones? I would say, first of all, definitely ESG, ecological, social, and transparent governance, but there are a lot of literature and a lot of people spoke about it here during this event already. I would make some examples for ESG. How does it work? It is not only ecological production or ecological organization of the special economic zone. It is also the way of thinking which we should try to establish in the special economic zone among the entrepreneurs and among the workers. A small example, it is cold in Russia, and it is usual that in winter the truck drivers keep the motor on in order to get warmed. So it's our task as a management company of the special economic zone to organize places for them where they can warm themselves, where they can have coffee, and only after we've done it, we can explain that the motor should be turned off in order not to multiply CO2 pollution. Just an example of how it works. And we are in the special economic zones, we have the privilege that we combine different mentalities. We have investors from different countries. So it's the task of the management company to bring these mentalities under the one denominator. So what is important is to do an ethic code containing all the ECGs. Social. What does it mean, social? Social means not only being good to your workers. Social means also giving back to the community, to the municipality where you work, to the region, to the country where you come as a foreign investor or as a local investor if you have benefits granted from the country. I make an example. We are fortunate to have BEURASIA, the world major in pasta production, and when they came to us, they spoke as one of the first topics: we want to give back. What are the needs of the local community? And this is a huge example of new mentality of the multinational companies. So if we as a management company of a special economic zone manage to make it as a standard of thinking, and this is possible only if we speak about it, if we gather people and just exchange, informal exchange of opinions. Governance and transparency. But also it is about how we as a management company can make the life of the investors much easier. It's about easiness of doing business. What is it? It is definitely one window for all the permissions, but it is also a dispute resolution. It is an ability to enforce the decisions of the courts in the country where we operate. So it is a special governance, and there are beautiful examples of the dispute resolution bodies made in the special economic zones, for example, the IFC or Astana zone. About being social, another thing is if you think as an integrity of the industrial area and of the social area. It is about residential real estate. It is about activity places for the workers, for the members of their families. It is very important. Next point, digital. Digital is, or the COVID time showed that digitalization is not an option anymore. It's a must. And we have different levels of this digitalization. The first one is the macro level, is the country level. How easy and how digitalized are the permissions, the taxation, the banking sphere. It's what we can not regulate ourselves as a management company, but this is an issue which we should raise in front of the government and trying to make an impact on the digitalization on the macro level. The second level is the digitalization of the special economic zone itself. It is about transparency and digital collection of data for water, sewage, electricity, gas, warm, and so on. But it is also about digital security. And now we are working hard on providing for digital security, which is important for the second decade of our century. The day before yesterday, WhatsApp server dropped down, and we all could not use WhatsApp. We as a special economic zones can make a separate, digitally safe and secured territory. In order to do so, we should provide the digital infrastructure, the network, which is secured and guarded by the entrance of the special economic zone. You should imagine all the printers, all the devices which are working via Wi-Fi from our provider in the special economic zones. They can be attacked by hackers. So it's our job to make it safe. And the third level is the company level, the enterprise, the factory level, how to digitalize. And this is also a very interesting trend which we can see now. After the pandemic, we are moving from physical product to a digital product. There is a huge demand for contract manufacturing, so that manufacturing process itself moves from the producer to the special service provider. And we as managing companies should think about providing these services or encouraging investors to provide these services in our special economic zone. What do I mean? The pandemic has showed that all the value chains have dropped. The logistics failed, and what we saw that there is a huge deficit on different arts of products. If the company producers could concentrate on making their products better and send it as a digital product to the factory located in our special economic zone, which is able to produce goods of the same industry for different brands, for different producers. This would be the great thing. And therefore we need robot, we need AI managing and operating for the production line. We need huge data center, and it is a challenge of the 21st century for the management companies and also for the countries in the world competition for good investors and for good producers. So the next is co-opetition, which is a mixture of cooperation and competition. We are not competing only. The interchange and the cooperation between the special economic zones, both within one country and internationally, between international or between different special economic zones in other countries, this is also an absolutely must because the time and the new challenges they are developing that quick that we are not able to work isolated. We have to cooperate with each other. And it is also a huge benefit for our residents because we can organize clusters and build bridges between our residents in different countries, which would make it much easier and quicker to establish new logistic chains, new value chains. This is very important. The next trend, in my view, is competition for talents. 21st century shows that industries are disrupting. Money don't have that value which it had in the 20th century. Now we are competing for talents, for talented people, for super brains, and our challenge is to create conditions to attract these super brains and to keep them within this special economic zone. So special economic zone has to think further. We called it holistic industrial approach, or making investments happen by making investors happy. This means that we should think not only about the owners and the top management of the factories, but also about the workers, but also about how can we make our special economic zone as a magnet for talented people. So what is important to think about is digital platforms for searching for human resources, re-education also digitally for people. But also we have to attract some or to create some attractions for people who would want to live within the area around the special economic zone. This is about education for kids. This is about universities. This is about leisure time. What can we offer to people so that they want to stay with us? For example, winter skiing loop, or special sport events, or to be a center for cultural events. This is very important. So I guess these are the main trends and the main challenges of the second decade of the 21st century.
Thank you very much for such a wonderful presentation. So if I would try to summarize what we heard during the last 10-15 minutes, there are around 3,500 special economic zone, about 1,500 free economic zone in the world, and only 500 of them are successful. So it means that there are some trends that we can now make some analysis and to understand. If they want to be successful in the future, they need to be a best place to work and best place to live. They need to be ecological, social, and governance from the governance point of view transparent. And what about the being innovative? I would like to ask this question to His Excellency David Sahakian, Deputy Minister of High-Tech Industry of the Republic of Armenia. Your Excellency, thank you very much for your time and that you are now with us. Mr. Sahakian has 25 years of experience in business strategy and business development, as well as in financial management and business modeling. During the last 10 years, he was involved in the innovation and data science and math modeling in the Republic of Armenia. His career includes banking sector, post sector, and as a PhD in Doctor of Mathematics. Now he's involved in many different projects that going on not only in Armenia but all around the world. And Mr. Sahakian, may I ask you to tell us what you think? What is the future of development of the industry and economy itself, and what is the policy of the Republic of Armenia in digitalization, innovation, startup ecosystem, etc.?
First of all, thank you, Nika, for introduction. Thank you for invitation. It was very interesting to hear my colleagues' experience, and I will try to present what we are doing and to answer Nika's question. So currently, especially after pandemic, the ICT sector pushed the other sectors to be more digitalized and to use information technologies in their day-to-day life. So this brings also the possibilities to do a lot of innovation and a lot of digitalization in the businesses. And what we are doing now is the following. So during the pandemic, Armenian government dedicated to approximately $2 million to support ICT sector. And we gave grants to these companies to minimize the effect or influence of the pandemic to these companies. And plus, we dedicated approximately $800,000 to educate people to change their specialties, to become specialists in especially IT sector. Why? Because we have a huge lack and gap of the demand and supply of specialists at in ICT sectors. And this initiative supported to those people who lost their jobs during pandemic to learn new skills, new knowledge, and shift from other sectors to ICT sector and find a job, because this was the only sector, not only, but the main sector which could provide online workspace to the people. So after that, we saw the impact of these initiatives to the sector. Sector were very happy because we supported them. They were happy because we provided them workforce. And this year we decided to continue these activities, and it became a kind of instrument to support ICT sector. And this year we have organized from idea to business competition of startups. And it had three layers of three stages of the competition. First was idea level, second was market entrance level, and third was growth level. And what was interesting, and we were very happy with that, because a lot of scientific teams were participating to this competition, which meant that innovation and know-how started to move from, let's say, scientific offices, universities to the industry. And it was a very good indicator for us. So the process goes, and our instruments that we have implemented gave the results. And of course, we continued the same training processes, which solves the gap of short-term gap of the industry. And in addition to that, of course, we have other incentives for the sectors, like tax incentives that gives a lot of opportunities for the new established companies. And again, when we talk to these companies, when they come and apply for this tax incentive, we of course talk to them, and majority of companies, they started to develop a new innovative products. If before these laws execute more than 6 years, and before the main activities that this company do were outsourcing. Currently, majority of startups are developing their own products, and they have customers, they have new markets, and our role is to support these companies to make global products and make a global business. So these are the main instruments that currently we are using. Of course, we work on legislation framework development. We work to make finance accessible. Currently we are establishing Armenian National Venture Fund, which will support all these innovations to make them happy and make them applicable in an economy at all. So this is the main activities. I don't want to take your time to talk long, but if you have questions, please.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. And so as we understand now, the Industry 4.0 goes to the innovation, innovation, and innovation. But what about the industrialization? Dragan, what do you think? Are there any possibilities for the free zones to develop? And during the several speeches and during the several events, we were talking about the cooperation and cross-border free zones. What do you think about that?
I think that cross-border free zone is very, very important in this time of pandemic, COVID-19, of course, because the simplification of measure against COVID-19, I think it is in the cross-border free zone is it is better. We're talking about many models of free zones, and many authors talk about free trade zone, traditional free zones, free ports, free trade zones, bonded warehouses, many. So now, in recent years, we're talking about special economic zones. But I think I prefer the name free zones. And this all the kind of free zone and cross-border free zone, it is one of them. Now, cross-border free zones promote investment in bonded area. Bonded free zones and border free zones reduce transport costs, facilitating, of course, cross-border logistics, and it is very, very successful because they have the same infrastructure in one place. In this, we have also reduced the tariff discounts, special exemption for movement of people, because we have also cross-border custom-free zones in the border towns. It is one type. On the border and cross the border. All of these types is some types of cross-border free zones. In this measure, it is simplifying synchronization rules and trades, investments, and of course, custom procedure, all in one place. And in the time of COVID, it is very important because the same measure we use in one place, but we have 2 countries or 3 countries. Some history. The first economic cross-border free zone is in United States and Mexico, Tijuana, in 1933. Now it is a very big free zone. It is some kind of maquila, of course. 1.2 million people is in this free zone. Europe, I saw many years ago the Austria-Hungarian cross-border free zone. Austria-Hungary is not in the member of the European Union. It is in Szentkohard. I think, I don't know what is, my pronunciation is good, but it is Szentkohard, the Helsinki free zone. I was in this zone. It is very good example, but now it is the European Union, one country, is not the free zone anymore. It is industrial park. But in this time, it is very, very successful model of this. Of course, we have now one interesting cross-border free zone. It is Bereg-Karpaty Hungarian-Ukraine free zones. It is also very close to Romanian border, and this free zone is now a very successful industrial park. They have 2 hectares in Ukraine, and they have 2 hectares in Hungarian side. Finland and Russia, they have some kind of this. It's not bonded, but it is very, very Samaya Free Economic Zone is the name. I think it pronounced good. Europe, European Union, France and Belgium, they have cross-border healthcare free zone. It's not a border economic zone, of course. It's not free zone, but border economic zone. But they have some kind of this element of cross-border freedom. Europe, of course, have in the Maastricht one free zone, one this kind of this. Russia and China, we had talking about China. In China, it is a huge movement, of course. There are many, 21 cross-border free zone they established in 3 years. And we have also on the border of China and Vietnam, Heko free zone, China, Myanmar, Laos, Kazakhstan, North Korea, of Macau. It is also very successful cross-border free zones. Of course, one type of cross-border free zone, it is overseas special economic zone from China. You have one in BEURASIA. It is the Great Stone. We know the Great Stone is a very, very good model for this. But they have in 21 or 22 countries, they have the same free zones industrial park. It is part of some type of cross-border free zone. North and South Korea, we have also, North and South Korea, we have one cross-border free zone. You mentioned, you remember that Trump is go to one of these zones, go to North Korea in the summit. And we have also one type, it is e-commerce. E-commerce cross-border economic zone, it is very important. E-commerce border economic zone, it is the good example is practice from Shanghai free trade zone. They have this e-commerce platform. It is also cross-border, something like cross-border, very modern. Okay, I think it is some about this.
Thank you very much for the information. So if I understand correct, from the 75 types of the free zones that we are using terms free zones, that export processing free zone, special economic zone, industrial zone, technological park, cluster, etc., you have found that the best cases are cross-border free zones because they have in industrial zones, they have free custom warehouse, they have a special economic zone, and also they have a possibility for logistical moving as people, as well as of the goods and services as well. So, Mr. Sahakan, Armenia, as a small country, has several borders. Do we have a cross-border free zone in Armenia, and what are the advantages? Why, as a resident, I need to choose to come to that cross-border free zone?
Thank you for the question. Of course, we have cross-border free zone. In general, we have 4 free zones in Armenia. One of them is so-called cross-border free zone with in the Meri, in the border with Iran. So, what it brings for us to have such a zone? Of course, all free zones mainly serve to the following issue, to attract companies, worldwide companies, to come to your company and to run a business, export their products. But at the same time, we have IT free zones, which, of course, in the matter of product, they export their services, not a product. So this kind of free zones, they serve to different purpose. And if I may to go further with this free zone definition and usage, currently we are working on creating even special zones for the high-tech sector, which means that we will allow companies to come here, establish their manufacturing, even R&D centers here, and it will give the special conditions for them. And as my colleague mentioned, it's a complex problem. It's not only to bring these companies to work here, it's infrastructure issue, apartments for these people, accommodation issues, issues related with schools, kindergartens, etc., etc. So incentives are very different. When we talk to these worldwide brands to come to Armenia, when we are talking about tax incentives, they say, okay, it's enough. Every country is thinking about tax incentives. Let's think about more creative incentives. So currently we are working on that. And of course, we have already draft paper that we are talking with the main stakeholders, and we will implement, I hope, in the near future. And it's a complex problem. The same law that I mentioned for IT sector incentives, we are changing this law, which will correspond not only high-tech sector, but it will also support these kind of companies to come and to make this special zone active. So this is from my side.
Thank you very much, Katerina. So then I have a question for you. Mr. Sahakian presented the point of view of the government, how to attract foreign direct investment, and how he thinks that the tax intensive are not any more important for our residents. You are representing the first private-owned free zone in Russia, and could you please open our eyes? What are the differences between the private-owned and the state-owned free zones, especially if we go to the particular case of Russia?
Thank you for the question. It is indeed interesting and was a big challenge, and we are proud to be the first ever private special economic zone in Russia. The idea is that a private investor purchases land and applies for the government to grant to the investors coming to this special economic zone tax advantages, customs advantages, all the conditions which are also provided by the state-owned special economic zones. The difference is that there is no state financing the infrastructure and everything what is happening in the special economic zone. It has its benefits because we are very flexible, but on the other side, it has its disadvantages because we are always thinking about being extremely efficient from the cost point of view. The result, we are celebrating our 6th anniversary this year, and we have invested $20 million in the infrastructure and attracted 400 million investments. There are 30 investors operating and 17 plants which are already built and producing in our special economic zone, which is indeed very efficient. But nowadays, I guess both special economic zones, which are owned by the state, and the private special economic zones, have to make a very efficient financial model. Otherwise, they cannot achieve success. So the privately owned special economic zones have to attract institutional investors to invest more in the infrastructure. We managed to create all the infrastructure, including privately owned railway road for Barilla and for our Russian major in the pet food. We had to create it for our own financial means. But if we had right now more financing, we could create the contracting, the contract manufacturing plants, which is very important right now. We could create also some additional residential area. We created already residential area for 10,000 people living with us on the border of the special economic zone. But we have plenty of plans. And to realize all these plans, we are searching for institutional investors now. And the state-owned special economic zones, they have an advantage that they get much more financing from the state, but they have to think about more efficient financial model. Flexibility. Flexibility is a huge issue nowadays because we are living in the time, as Alice in Wonderland says, in order to stay we have to run, and in order to move we have to run very quickly. It is about flexibility. It is about making decisions. I make an example. We had an Indian investor investing 150,000 euros in our special economic zone. He came at 11 p.m. at night. He asked for a meeting, but he was late 4 hours, and we had to wait for him. It was Friday. And on one day, we went already together to India, to the owner of the factory. And he opened his first production line after 9 months after our first meeting. This might be a bit more difficult for the state-owned special economic zone. So the challenge and the task for the management company in the special economic zone, which is owned by the state, is to gain more flexibility. So these, and our challenge as a private special economic zone, to attract more institutional financing.
Thank you very much. So I want to summarize what we talked during the last hour. So in any case, Netherlands, where we are working, Netherlands, what we are looking for, our free zone needs to be best in class, innovative and sustainability development. So we need to be knowledge-based. We need to go to the entrepreneurial and SME development and to encourage our startups to be innovative and implement to our business excellence. And the cross-border free zones will help us to save people movement, logistical supply chain, and as well as to attract more foreign direct investment, because tax-intensive have all the countries. If we want to attract more investors to our countries, we need to cooperate with the border free zones as well. So do you have anything to add, Mr. Kostic?
Nothing. I think your summary is very, very good.
Ekaterina?
No, thank you. I guess it was a perfect summing up of what was said before.
Your Excellency, Mr. Sagan.
Thank you for this interesting discussion. From my side, it's all. Thank you for invitation and very interesting conversation.
So thank you very much. We had an excellent conversation and hope that people that then will listen what we were talking about will come to the final solution that in any case, we need to be very good place to work and excellent place to live. Love you all. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you to our guests.
Bye-bye.
And thank you to Ms. Manukova for moderating this panel. It's been a pleasure to have you all. Ahora nos vamos a hacer una pausa de 10 minutos. A las 6 en punto hay un evento aquí en el BNIU. Es la entrega de premios de los BNIU en la Estació de França. Desde este plató nosotros nos despedimos. Volvemos mañana a las 11 con más debates en la última jornada de esta semana del BNIU. Hasta mañana.